right, so this segment is going to be about me in the recording studio and the diction. Oh, there's a lot to say about that. And the first shows that I did and how I got my equity card. So if you're interested in any of that, in case you don't know, equity is our union for theater. So we'll talk about that. And if you're interested, stay tuned. I'm drinking water. Water is good for you. You know, a lot of people out there, they don't drink enough water. And as singers, you have to drink water. Or maybe you're motivational speakers or whatever. You have to have water, just in general. Everybody has to have water. Put that wine down. Let me take one more sip. Ooh, I hope this doesn't mess up my lipstick. I'm back. Anyway, you know, I used to have a glass of wine, maybe two, and do a fabulous show. Child, if I have a glass of wine now, they probably won't get a show because I'll be somewhere asleep. All right, in the recording studio. Okay, so at this point now, I'm starting to get the feel for R&B. It's there, kind of, you know, but I'm still kind of getting hoarse. Not kind of, I was getting hoarse because of the cigarettes. Now, the reason why I could get a feeling for R&B is because I was raised in the church, in the Baptist church. Now, what I wasn't exactly belting and doing all that because my earlier days, of course, was classical music. But now we're in the studio, right? And they would say, Vivian, your diction is too perfect. Now, I am going to do a segment on that. That's going to be a how-to with the diction because it just blows my mind that so many people out there, even professional performers, don't have good diction. Child, they need to understand what you're singing when the audience is watching you. They don't understand if you don't articulate, if you don't, say your words and sing your words as they should be sung. You understand? Like, I love you. You can hear the VE in love. But I love you. Ain't no I love you. Where'd that come from? Anyway, but we'll talk about that. We'll get to that. All right, now in the recording studio, they're telling me my diction is too perfect. Like I would say, I love you, baby. No, that's the good way. I love you, baby. They said, Vivian, could you say baby instead of babies? It took me a while to get that in me because I had a whole year of diction at Juilliard. So, I mean, that was really very, very difficult. But the thing about being in a recording studio is to know your music and everything so that you can really sing it because the people who buy your music, they can only go by what they hear in their ears. They can't see you. So you have to be convincing when you're delivering those lyrics and your vocals. They have to believe it. The feeling has to be in your sound because it's not visual. So that's important. Okay. So that was my time in the recording studio. I learned how to caress the microphone, the different techniques with the microphone, and that's going to be a how-to video as well. But I really enjoyed it. The part I didn't like was getting hoarse. But let's move on because I'm still smoking and would be still smoking for some few years to come. The first show, that's entertainment. One newspaper put that's entertainment with a question mark. Okay. Now, I didn't know anything about reviews or any of that kind of thing. So I'm sitting on the subway, right? And this man is reading the Daily News or the Post out. I don't remember which one. And it looked like my picture was in there. And I looked, I said, oh, I think that's my picture. Now, we had just opened in That's Entertainment. It had just opened. So there was a newsstand at 50th and Broadway. So I went running up the subway stairs and again, I said to the guide, the newsstand, I said, listen, mister, I think my picture is in the paper. Can I just look through? I don't want to buy it. I just want to look through to see if my picture is there. He said, go ahead, young lady. So I go looking through the paper. Oops, there it was. And you know what it said underneath? Vivian Reed by herself, meaning I guess I was the only one that they considered in the show. So I said, "Oh my God, they singled me out," but not a nice thing because there were some talented people in that show. Honey, I walked into the dressing room and one of the girls yelled out, "You want to do this show by yourself?" I was like, "Whoa, where did that come from?" I think for me, that was the beginning of me understanding what jealousy is and what it could be and how it can just eat you alive if you don't get over that and stop coveting what somebody else is doing. Anyway, I just kind of disregarded it. And so we're sitting in, like in between shows, we're sitting in a restaurant, and an actor from another show across the street came in. And I think after that, he even got a television show. Anyway, he came in and he came up to the table, and we're all sitting there. And he said, "Congratulations, Vivian, on your reviews." Baby, before I could say thank you, honey, this guy slammed. I'm not calling any names because I don't believe in that. I mean, I've seen these people since and everything is good. So I'm not calling names. But baby, he slammed his hand down on that table and said, "Well, if anybody just disregards what the director says and goes ahead, I mean, the director asked us not to sing so much and she just goes out there and sings. It's like I wasn't even sitting there. So I couldn't take it anymore. Baby, I took my fist and I bammed it down on that table. Glasses went everywhere. And I said, "Look, if you're stupid enough to have somebody tell you not to do what your talent is, and you go ahead and you do it, then that's on you. But don't come down on me for your mistake." Well, I really do believe what the director was saying is when he said, "Stop singing so much," he was saying, get more, act more inside of your lyrics, inside of the song. And that's what I'm going to do a how to on. Delivering lyrics, it's special. It is not about only executing perfectly beautiful notes. It's simply not that. And I really do think that's what that director was saying. So he also brought up this person in the show. And then she tells the musical director that she doesn't like his arrangement. I never told the musical director I didn't like his arrangement. When I went up on the stage and the orchestra played it, he said to me, he asked me, "Is there anything that you don't like that you would like to do differently?" And I said, "Well, I feel that the horns are getting in the way while I'm singing. If they could just play in between my phrases." He said, "Vivian, that's a really good idea." That's what he said. And I think as artists, when there are things bothering you or something is just so unsettling with you about what you're doing on stage or with anything, in a very, very nice way, voice what you're feeling because they can't read your mind. So what happened is he changed the arrangement. And it was so much better because I didn't feel that while I was singing, these horns were blasting all over me. So it was great. And by the way, it was in a song called By Myself. The song was called By Myself by Dietz and Schwartz. Okay, but that show got me my equity card. Okay, got me my equity card, and they took out dues every week. Every time I had a check, they gave me a check. The dues was taken out. So that's how they did it back then. I think it's a little bit different today. I don't know because I've had my equity card for so long. So did I have trouble with my voice doing 8 shows a week while I was smoking? No, because at this point now, my voice was starting to get used to the way my vocal folds rather, was starting to get used to the way I was using them. So the classical side of my voice was slowly starting to go away. Okay, not completely go away, but it was more difficult for me to sing that kind of music than what I was doing, the theater music and the R&B to an extent. So That I love the show because it was my first theater piece. Even with that's entertainment with a question mark. I will never forget that. But they did like me. And I just want to tell you that when you go into a show, critics might just pick someone out to to praise and to give accolades. It might be you, or it might be somebody else. It might be your best friend that's in the show. You cannot get upset. You have to understand that performers do not tell critics what to write. They don't. So don't take it out on them. Okay? Just don't do that because it's not a nice thing. Um, I would rather say that if you're looking at a performer, look at the good things that they do and figure, am I doing that? Is that something I could work on? Think of it that way. Instead of coveting, see what you can take that would be useful for you to hone your own talent. Okay? Now, that was the recordings and my first show where I got my equity card. Because you do have to have an equity card. Now, when you first start, of course, you can go on non-union auditions and find that in the papers, like Backstage and whatever trade papers. And they also have Backstage online, which is great. And you could submit yourself and see what happens. So the next part, we're going to deal with bubbling brown sugar because, honey, that's a section unto itself. Okay? So thank you for tuning in and see you in part 4. Bye.